Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. We have just finished the fourth era of Marvel films. The Fox years have come to a close. This went from 2015, through to 2020. So the largest era in a while. The middle two ones, as you know, the Paramount years were only about 4 years, and then the first kind of Disney acquisition years were only about 2 years. So this is the longest era of Marvel films we've had since the initial kind of birth of Marvel films back in 1986 with Howard the Duck. And you can tell they took their time here. It's a really interesting mix. Obviously, Disney kind of owned this whole era. They put out more films than any other studio for Marvel. Fox put out a fair amount. They put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not too bad at all. And Sony, interesting, just the one. Sony only had the one film after losing Spider-Man. If you include Spider-Man, then they put out 3. But let's put out the fact that Disney distributed the Spider-Man film. So Sony only had one outing in that entire 5-year period. Everything else was either Disney or Fox, which is interesting because in this next era we're going to start with WandaVision in a couple of videos' time. Sony would start their own Spider-Man free universe using all of his villains, which is met with mixed results, but we'll talk about that. This is a pretty strong one. I've enjoyed all the eras so far, as you know, and I found a lot of surprises. Sony, with their one effort being Venom in 2018, really impressed me. Rewatching all of these films, Venom was one I was looking forward to, but I didn't have, particularly high expectations. I really enjoyed it for what it is. For a film that doesn't have its main character in it, Spider-Man, they built a pretty fun universe, and they managed to keep it dark and make it a villain story or an anti-hero story while still having moments of levity. Tom Hardy, obviously fantastic in the role. The visual effects, stunning. Love the way the symbiote looks, and looking forward to more of that symbiote action in the next 2 Venom films, both of which I quite enjoy. So Sony, only representing with one film, really did a fantastic job, I thought. Fox obviously was coming to its end, and I don't know if they knew in 2015 they were coming to an end. I think I remember the conversations about acquisition coming into the conversation around 2017, 2018. I think that's when they started talking about it. So they had some really good films with the 2 Deadpool flicks, with Logan. I'm going to throw New Mutants in there as well. I think New Mutants is really underrated. I really enjoyed it. But their main brand, the X-Men, just didn't deliver. Their team films they struggled. They had 2. They had X-Men Apocalypse and they had Dark Phoenix, neither of which lit the world on fire. They had Fantastic Four, the 2015 one, which I've gone on record saying that I enjoy it for what it is. I don't think it's really a Fantastic Four film, but for a sci-fi body horror superpower film, I think it's pretty interesting. Like, it could have done with another 30 minutes to develop that story a bit more, but my favorite version of Doctor Doom so far I've talked about as well. Toby Kebbell was great in it. So Fox, I think they had maybe like three good ones, maybe 4 good ones. Deadpool, the 2 Deadpools, Logan and New Mutants, I'd say they're 4 good ones. The X-Men films and Fantastic Four, not so good. Fantastic Four maybe in the middle there. And then Marvel just had a home run streak. They were just hitting home runs every single time. They had Civil War, which I think is a fantastic film. I really enjoy that. Doctor Strange, one of my favorite origin stories of all time. Guardians 2, the weakest in the trilogy for me, but the best soundtrack, and did a lot to set up some expectations for the Avengers films. Spider-Man Homecoming, a great origin story that doesn't have the origins in it. Thor Ragnarok, the one disappointment for me. I don't think it's a bad film. I just think it sometimes goes a little bit too heavy on the comedy. Black Panther, really enjoyable. Infinity War, excellent. Ant-Man and the Wasp, fun. Captain Marvel, good. Endgame, great. Far From Home, pretty good. So really strong outings from Disney as well. And you can see the groundwork being laid. Like, Deadpool gets absorbed. Deadpool is one of the few characters from existing universes in different series that translates or transfers over to the Marvel universe. It takes a while, doesn't get there till 2024, but Disney put out a Fox character. They put out Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. They bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So they both get kind of recycled or reused. And we do see some other returning mutants from the Fox era as well, which we'll talk about in the Deadpool Wolverine video, which I imagine will be quite long, because even though there's not too much to the story, there's a lot of moving parts in terms of cameos and stuff like that. So a really, really strong era. I really enjoy it. Once I picked Doctor Strange off my shelf, I knew I was in for a good time for a long while, because I think the first film out of all of them that I didn't really dig was Dark Phoenix. So it was a really strong, just 10, 12 kind of movie run where I was constantly entertained. And that's what it was like back in 2017, through to 2020. We were going to the movies every couple of months to see a Marvel film, and it was always enjoyable. And I think that's why a lot of people think that Marvel is over. People think that everything since Endgame has been a decline, but it's not true. We are going to see that as we go through all these movies. There's some really wonderful movies to come up. Shang-Chi, I mentioned the other day. The Eternals, which I think is really underrated. Black Widow, I really like. Spider-Man No Way Home. For me, their movies have been pretty consistent. They're just not the same level as Endgame, but that's okay. Not every film can be Infinity War and Endgame. Like Thor Ragnarok is nowhere near Infinity War and Endgame for me, but still an enjoyable film. Doctor Strange, which is probably my favorite origin story out of that whole batch, not as strong as Endgame or Infinity War, but not because it's a bad film. It's one character versus like 40 characters. Of course, it's going to be a different scale, but still enjoyable. So the next era we're going into is the fifth era, / phase 4 of the Marvel Universe. We're introducing Marvel TV, which is something that I was really resistant to. I wasn't excited about it. I don't want my superhero characters on the small screen. I know that's a very old-fashioned way of thinking, and a lot of people disagree with it, and that's fine. I just like to go to the movies. I want to sit there for 2-3 hours and watch good Battle Evil with the budget to support and have those cool, like, massive CGI fights. I want to see that. I like that. But despite being resistant to it, I have enjoyed them all. So even though they are technically series, I am going to list them as movies. In fact, Letterboxd lists them as movies as well, because the shows like WandaVision, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they are basically 5-6 hour movies, just broken up into a weekly interval. It'll be nice to watch them all in one go, as opposed to waiting week by week. I think so we're now heading to an era where I'm watching stuff for the second time only. Everything thus far, I had watched minimum 2-3 times. I think maybe Dark Phoenix and New Mutants were the movies I'd watched the least out of all of these, and I'd watched both of them, I think, twice. So next up, I'll give you a preview. Here we go. WandaVision, I've only watched once. Falcon the Winter Soldier, I've only watched once. Season 1 of Loki, I've only watched once. Black Widow and Shang-Chi I've actually watched twice each, so I've already got those under my belt and I know what I'm getting into. But the TV shows, I've only done one viewing, so I'm really excited to get back into these, give them another crack, and keep going with it. We are well over halfway. We're almost at 60 viewings now, so we are kind of heading towards the end, because these next few phases shrink down quite a bit. Phase 4, I think, is the second longest of all the phases. Phase 5 is over pretty quickly, and Phase 6 has just begun. Like, Fantastic Four was the first movie in the phase. Wonder Man has just come out, which I still haven't watched. I will watch it once I've finished that. Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is part of Phase 6, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, which we still haven't got a trailer for as of the recording right now. I'm recording in March. This isn't dropping until like May or June, so we will have had a trailer by then because it comes out in July. And then Doomsday. So we're in the shortest phase since maybe Phase 1 of the MCU. But I'm very excited to see where it all goes. Thanks for watching. We will be back with WandaVision very soon.